Hello everyone. So this session is about multidisciplinary management in cleft lip and palate. So this includes from birth, immediately on the birth to adulthood. So immediately on birth, feeding and psychological problems are are the biggest issues. Psychological problems will be more from the parental side. Then that is during the birth time. So feeding and psychological problems are the biggest issues. A cleft lip or palate makes feeding of the baby more difficult. So in case if the child is not able to feed properly, the saturation level decreases, the child does not get appropriate nutrition, and there will be definite failure to thrive. So in that conditions, we have to do an intervention for such conditions. The major problems with feeding a baby with cleft are problems with sucking and with formula coming through the nose. So definitely there will be cleft, and the amount of milk going inside the baby's stomach will be only one fourth. So three-fourth of the milk will be coming out through the cleft area or the nose. So the following specialties are, as we have already told, it's a multidisciplinary management. So it includes a lot of specialists like neonatologists, pediatricians, feeding specialist, nurse, geneticist to assess for syndrome association. So when we learned about the etiology, we have learned that there are syndrome associated cleft lip and palate. So we have to rule out whether the child has any syndrome. So a clinical psychologist should be there to intervene the psychological issues. So in the birth time, what we do is to, in order to save the child from feeding difficulty, we will fabricate something called as obturator. So we'll move on to the steps of making this obturator. So impression technique and obturator construction includes an irreversible hydrocolloid impression. So we have to, as we all know, the first step is impression taking. For an infant, we use an irreversible hydrocolloid impression of the infant's maxillary arch with the stock tray. So we'll make use of a stock tray. Like, stock tray means something which is we already have a prefabricated one, or in case if we have a similar kind of a case before, we must be having the cast of that child. So we can make like a stock tray, like something which we can keep it for reference, and we shall keep this hydrocolloid impression materials onto the tray, and then we can take the impression with that. So while we are taking an impression, infant is held upright during the impression to prevent aspiration of excess material. So appropriate emergency equipments like oxygen suction is very important, and standard airway should be available at chairside. Along with that, we need a assistant also when we are doing this impression, like when you are fabricating an impression. So impression is poured after taking the impression. It is poured like dental stone is poured, and a custom tray is fabricated from the model. So from that, we are taking a proper custom fabricated tray, and with that tray, we'll be taking a secondary impression again with the infant held upright. Irreversible hydrocolloid impression is made using custom tray with good anatomical details. So here we get the proper anatomical details covering the entire maxilla. So with that, we have to make the obturator. So clinical management of initial obturator therapy. So the advantages of obturator is appliance is positioned in the infant's mouth. So initially we have to position inside the infant's mouth. Excess pressure on any intraoral tissues are identified, and we have to reduce. So excess extent we have to see in case if there is any sharp points, we have to reduce that. It should not impinge any muscle attachment or movement, perioral movement. Parents are instructed on placement and removal of the appliance, plus how it has to be cleaned and stored. So here you can see this is the picture of an obturator. So you can tie it with a normal thread, or normally we prescribe or we use floss, dental flosses to tie. We can use make a hole on both sides, and we can tie this with a floss, and we can tape it over the face while feeding, and after that we can remove and use it. So after the fabrication of the obturator, the next step is premaxillary orthopedics. So this depends on each patient. So it depends on how is the premaxillary region, or how is the development of the premaxillary region. So this is basically done from birth to 4 to 5 months of age period. So premaxillary segment that is either positioned severely anterior to maxillary arch segment of deviated or deviated laterally to one side of the cleft apex. So this is one of the possibility which might happen. So the premaxillary region will be severely anterior to the maxillary arch segment, or it might show some deviations laterally to one side towards the cleft defect. So in such conditions, we have to reposition the premaxillary region by doing some orthopedic appliances. And only after that, in case if the child is having definite cleft lip, the lip surgery has to be done only after the correction of the premaxillary region. So if lip surgery is undertaken in such an abnormal position, it will lead to a something called as lip dehiscence. So whatever we have joined, it won't be proper. It will gradually the whatever repair work which we have done, it will be a loss. So in 1969, Hoffman described the use of head cap and premaxillary strap to reposition the premaxillary area. And after 1 week, that means after the delivery of the obturator, infant is fitted with this appliance. So this is one of the examples which you can write regarding the premaxillary orthopedics, which was explained by Hoffman. So when you are considering all of these, you have to see whether the child has any airway obstruction. So conditions like secondary to Peary-Robinson anomaly, which includes glossoptosis, macroglossia, and micrognathia, and cleft palate, it may require an immediate surgery because airway obstruction is very important and it has to be corrected immediately. So such surgeries has to be done immediately if the child has airway obstructions. Helioplasty. Helioplasty is nothing but lip reconstruction or lip surgeries. So before doing that, you should know what is rule of 10. So rule of 10 is frequently determined for the optimal timing for lip closure. So rule of 10 is nothing but 10 weeks of age. The child should be 10 weeks of age, 10 pounds of body weight, and 10 gram hemoglobin, 10 gram percentage of hemoglobin. So this is very important so that the child will have a proper gloating and the healing process will happen only if the child has this or checks in with the rule of 10. At time of lip closure, another impression is made for a new obturator because the child keeps on growing and the child grows very fast. So you have to assess if the child requires a change of the obturator. This has to be done to accommodate the craniofacial growth to reduce the maxillary arch collapse. Also, this has to be placed. So obturator gives a cross arch stability and support. And when maxillary segment are in good alignment and abutted across the cleft sides, the primary cleft bone graft can be done during 6 to 9 months of age. So here initially you should know you must be hearing a lot about grafting, bone grafting. So bone grafting of alveolar defect occurs in 3 stages. So you can do it in a primary stage, early secondary stage, and secondary stage. So according to Boyne and Sands, they have divided into 3 stages like primary bone grafting, which is referred to as alveolar cleft defects in children less than 2 years of age. This is basically done in less than 2 years of age. Early secondary bone grafting is done between 2 to 4 years of age, and secondary bone grafting is done during the adult. If the child requires more aesthetic corrections, then we will go with the secondary bone grafting. So these things depends on the child and the case. So how much defect the child has, then accordingly we'll have to do the bone grafting. So there have been so many protocols given by so many associations and for cleft lip and palate management. So this is one of it. So you can learn either from. I think in Balaji also they have given in a table or tabula column, so which is easier to learn, but it is given properly in your pedo textbooks also, which has been explained beautifully. So birth to 1 month, definitely the referral should be done. Predental treatment is provided, which comprises feeding plate. Feeding plate is normally done by it can be done by an oral maxillofacial surgeon, but periodontists are also involved in it. Pre-surgical orthopedics also helps surgeon in repair by stimulating the palatal bone growth and preventing collapse of the dental arches. So When you're doing all these, we have to make the study records by taking photographs, pre and post photographs with the appliances, whatever appliances we are giving. Along with that, casts of models has to be kept. From 3 to 5 months of age, introduce the parents to dental care for primary teeth. So that is the time where the child starts developing deciduous teeth. So after that, alignment of the primary teeth and palatal expansion to be started using simple fixed appliances like WRT appliances and Arnold expander. So in case if a child requires all these things, based on each cases, the treatment modalities and plan changes. So we, in case if the arch is collapsed and if the child requires expanders, then we'll have to think about such appliances. And plastic surgeon has to will be doing the lip repair. Then, along with that, we there are more possibilities of ENT and middle ear infections, or to assess all these, we have to get referred to the child has to be referred to the ENT surgeon if the child requires suction laryngotomy or middle ear infection problems or middle ear problems for blue ear. So, in during these correction or surgical time, the ENT surgeons can also get along with the procedures, and they can do it along with them. So from 12 months onwards, a periodic review, which includes palatal prosthetic speech appliances, which may require to correct velopharyngeal incompetence. So velopharyngeal incompetence is something which you see in cleft patients, which is nothing but so a velopharyngeal incompetence or insufficiency is nothing but a disorder of the structure that causes a failure of the velum. Velum is nothing but your soft palate which it will cause failure of this soft palate to close against the posterior pharyngeal wall. That is during the speech, like when they are talking, they will have a hypernasal tone. So these things has to be corrected during this period. Explain possible eruption abnormalities. There will be definite eruption abnormalities. Ectopic eruptions will be there. Missing of the teeth or a severe crowding. This has to be expected. So possible eruption problems has to be mentioned to the parents. Plastic surgeon to repair the palate during this time, and speech pathologist's first assessment. So when the child starts speaking, these problems has to be speech therapy has to be done if the child is having problems. There will be definite problems. Pronunciation difficulties will be there. So a speech pathologist has to be reviewed along with that. Review by the audiologist and the ENT should be done along with all these things. So after 2 to 6 years period, no, after 12 months, 2 to 6 years time, the periodontist should review facial growth and development with regular monitoring at 1 year interval. So the growth process and the dental conditions has to be reviewed. Preventive measures for caries like fissure sealing and fluoride application has to be done. Restorative care should be provided if needed. Plastic surgeon to review 12 month. So as the child grows, all these things has to be updated. So from 6 to 7 years, periodontist to review the case and continue treatment for mixed condition. So even in case the child requires any arch expansion during this time, and for bone grafting, they have to assess during this period. Preventive or early orthodontic interventions with advice of home care, which would involve procedures like removal of supernumerary teeth, correction of crossbite. So in case if there is any crossbite, it has to be corrected immediately. The developing crossbite should be corrected then and there itself. That is why we keep a proper review. Radiographic evaluations, like if the child requires any cephalometric analysis and to see the growth pattern of the maxilla and mandible. So this is the best time you can take a ceph and see the development progress. Here, from here onwards, as the permanent tooth starts erupting, orthodontic consultation is a must. So we should have a combined, like a discussed treatment from an orthopedic perspective. So from 8 year onwards, it is suitable for bone grafting. So we have to think about that. Dental bone assessment should be uh, taken care. If needed, patient should be prepared for bone graft protocol. So review by plastic surgeon, speech pathologist, ENT should be going along with all these things. periodontist to review if early orthodontic intervention is needed to relieve crowding and reticulation of the anterior teeth. So this is all based on after the investigation processes. So from 9 years onwards, combined orthodontics and periodontics coalescence should be given. Bone graft alveolar cleft at the half to one third of the root development of the permanent cuspids. So this is usually done by assessing the developmental status of the dentition also. So from 12 to 10 to 12 years, periodontist to plan the future treatment. Orthodontic consultation should be done regularly, monitoring changing dentition and growth, preventive measures with review. So after like 12 years of age, orthodontic, if the child requires any fixed treatments, after the pre-orthodontic, like early orthodontic treatment, then if the child requires a fixed treatment, or that has to be done. Periodontic review at early intervals regarding other dental treatment like caries management or preventive therapies. Then oral surgeons to assist if orthodontists require. So so in case if they're doing any secondary surgeries, along with the orthodontist, they have to plan. Otherwise, the alignment issues and the crowding pattern, everything changes. So here, along with that, a plastic surgeon's review should be done if there is any scarring and if there is any kind of defect that has to be corrected during this period. So review by speech pathologists. So pronunciation issues and speech review should be done further if the child already had any speech defects. So, a newborn children with cleft present the risk of aspiration and airway obstruction, which may lead to acute asphyxia in children with small mandibles like Peary-Robinson syndrome. In such cases, it may require tracheostomy at the birth. This is what we have discussed previously about the airway obstructions. Feeding difficulties are very common. So, specialized feeding bottles such as Haberman's feeder and Mead Johnson bottle are helpful. So, this is something which will be asked in your vivas. So, feeding difficulty, there are bottles are also available. If that does not work, we'll go with the obturator. So, recurrent chest and throat infections are common in such children. Care by the neonatologist and the pediatrician is initially taken care. First few months. So, primary surgery of lip and anterior palate is done by a cleft surgeon who could be an oral surgeon, plastic surgeon, and a pediatric surgeon. So, it can be done either by an oral surgeon or along with that, a plastic surgeon is necessary because the lip repair, if there is any expertise, then it's well and good enough. So management of cleft lip and palate can be divided into actually following stages. So this is something which you will see in your tables like stage 1 includes treatment done from birth to 18 months of age. So this is one of the classifications which you can write all these procedures under stages. So stage 1 includes treatment done from birth to 18 months of age. Stage 2 is from 18 month to 5th year of life. That means primary dentition period, complete primary dentition period. Then stage 3 is treatment carried out during mixed dentition stage from 6th to 11th year of life. So after that 11 and 12 years, the child will be having permanent dentition. Stage 4 is nothing but treatment done during permanent dentition stage, 12 to 18 years. 18 years. So stage 1. So this is a simplified version of writing the management of cleft lip and palate. So stage 1 treatment includes fabrication of passive obturators, pre-surgical orthopedics, surgical management of cleft lip. So as we have discussed earlier, stage 1 is nothing but treatment from birth to 18 months. So during this period, we have to do all these things. And along with that, surgical management of cleft palate, passive maxillary obturator is an intraoral prosthetic device that fills the palatal cleft and provides false roofing against which child can suckle. This is nothing but an obturator itself. Reduces the feeding difficulty like insufficient suction, choking, excessive air intake. Obturator is fabricated using cold cure. So this is not been mentioned. Your obturator, the whatever obturator we are making is nothing but your normal cold cure acrylic. After selective blocking of the undesirable undercuts and class aided. In case if you require a class, we can make use of any small clasps in case insufficient retention is there. So a wing or something made of thick wire can be embedded in acrylic and made to follow the cheek contour. So it will go, these wire components will go outside the oral cavity and it will come get attached to the extraoral surface. Pre-surgical orthopedics is something which we have already discussed. So it facilitates the creation of good functional palate. The advantages are normal tongue position. It will help in positioning the tongue, helps in speech development, improves symmetry of the nose and cleft and maxilla, and psychological boost patients and parent as the patient gets continued supervision. So patient will always have an assurance that yes, they have been taken care of and there is definite improvement from before and after treatment. So that is why we always say that the child's photographs, pre and post photographs, has to be recorded. So there is another device which is use pre-orthodontic appliance, the Latham type appliance. This is an active pre-surgical orthopedic appliance that is intraorally fixed onto the palatal segment and extraorally activated by turning a control screw clockwise. This will help in case if there is any collapsed arch and all. So this is one example which you can write. Latham type appliance. So this appliance provides more precise and direct control over the movement of maxillary segment than do other appliances. Four transmucosal pins enable the anchorage of the appliance and transmission of corrective forces. So these are like explanations which is given to the parts of the pin. But the one thing which you should be knowing is the name of the appliance, nothing but Latham type appliances. So as I've mentioned, there are in different countries we follow different protocols. So this is one of the famous protocol which is forwarded with the surgical correction, which includes surgical correction. Oslo protocol. The protocol involves Oslo Cleft Center. They have come up with this protocol, which is developed in Norway. Their protocol does not follow preoperative orthopedics. So here there are definite changes. Some might do it, and everybody has their own way of treating things. So this is every protocol. Some differences will be there. So here one difference in Oslo protocol is does not follow preoperative orthopedics. And Millard's procedure is carried out for lip repair at the age of 3 months. So here lip repair is basically done at the age of 3 months by Millard's procedure. Millard's procedure is nothing but a surgical procedure name. So in case with an associated cleft of the alveolus and palate, a cranial-based single-layer worm or flat is sutured under the alveolus plate and periosteum at the time of lip closure. So in light of the present knowledge, ongoing research and different long-term and interim center studies are going on, and the Oslo protocol has been observed to generate good treatment outcomes. So definitely there is a good treatment outcome. That is why this has been evolved. So closure of secondary palate. So in case if the secondary palate closure, so this is one of the treatment modalities for closure of the secondary palate. So remaining hard and soft palate closure is done at the age of 18 months by von Langenbach pattern palatoplasty. So von Langenbach pattern palatoplasty, then the Milled's repair. These all terminologies comes under surgical closure. So alveolar bone grafting is done at the age of 8 to 10 years of age. This we have already discussed here. For the closure, we use the surgical method which is known as von Langenbein pattern palatoplasty. So stage 2 treatment. So what is two tre- stage 2 treatment? So stage 2 is nothing but from 18 month to 50 year of life. That is during the primary rendition period. Procedure carried out during this phase is adjustment of the intraoral obturator to accommodate the eruption of the residuous teeth, to maintain a check on eruption pattern and timing, oral hygiene instructions, then restoration of the decayed teeth. All of these has to be done. Orthodontic treatment is not normally recommended for primary condition, but still in case, as we have discussed before, if the child requires an simple arch expansion, then simple expansion appliances can be given. Then, but we have to see it does not damage the permanent dental follicles. Permanent successor dental follicles has to be taken care of while doing all these things. So, in patients with moderately underdeveloped maxilla and no class 3 hereditary defect, reverse headgear treatment should be advocated when the child is of the age 4 to 7 years. Then comes the stage 3. Stage 3 is something but nothing but the treatment carried out during the mixed dentition period, which is from 6 to 11 years of age. It is basically in this time period it carried out during a dental during mixed dentition phase. As in the early years, the main emphasis throughout the mixed dentition stage should be on prevention of dental disease. Dental disease is nothing but the dental caries. So in this phase, secondary alveolar bone grafting can be done. It is basically done during this stage. A child with the cleft palate may need surgery after initial cleft palate repair to replace missing bone in front of the mouth and roof of the mouth. So successful grafting provides osseous environment to permit spontaneous eruption of the canine. So here, proper if the graft is a success, then it will help in the spontaneous eruption and the proper appropriate eruption of the canine in the grafted area, and so should be undertaken after eruption of the permanent incisions, but before the eruption of permanent canine. So it basically depends on the area of concern. Then alveolar bone grafting provides bony bridge to cleft in alveolar area. So here also secondary alveolar bone grafting is important. So basically the benefit of doing secondary alveolar bone graft, that is during the adulthood period. So it provides bony support for alar base to minimize nasal deformity. So an early secondary bone graft has to be done for the repair of the alveolus. Then elimination of the oronasal and nasolabial fistula, hence avoiding nasal reflex of the fluid and air should be done. Stabilization of the maxillary segment so as to facilitate future secondary corrective osteotomy if required. So um, then facilitation of the teeth eruption into cleft side and achieve orthodontic movement adjacent to the cleft side. So this will definitely help in the aesthetic improvement. Aesthetically, the growth of the child, facial growth of the child will get so much improved by doing the secondary alveolar bone grafting. So basically the timing is it is done at the age when growth inhibition effects of the surgeries are minimized, and it can help maxillary canine and lateral incisors to erupt through the cancellous bone. But here what we have to notice is that this lateral incisors congenital missing is more common in such conditions. So we have to see that also. It is done in a mixed dentition stage after eruption of the permanent incisors, but before the eruption of the permanent canine. So this is one of the points which you should be knowing. It is very important. You have to write this that it should be done after the eruption of the permanent incisors, but before the eruption of the permanent canine. So why, like, how do you know that whether the child requires a bone graft? So assessment for the need for the bone graft is by seeing all these. Require careful clinical and radiological assessment. Teeth in the vicinity of cleft area need to be assessed, and all retained deciduous teeth, like supernumerary teeth, in case if there is no rudimentary teeth, they are the all the interventions or treatment has to be taken care then and there itself. So it's usually extracted before the bone graft. So after the like we can't do extractions and all after the bone graft because it is going to be a big loss. So pre-bone graft orthodontics, there is something called as pre-bone graft orthodontics. This is actually something which a detailed version of how the treatment procedure goes. But still, you should know all these things. So pre-bone graft orthodontics is nothing but maxillary arch expansion is performed preparatory to secondary bone graft, for which quad helix is appliance of choice. So here we use quad helix as the choice. And nowadays repetitive weekly protocol of alternative rapid maxillary expansion and constrictions are also performed. So in case if you have to go with that, the proper review and protocol has to be maintained when you're giving a rapid maxillary expansion appliance. So orthodontic procedures carried out during mixed condition phases are correction of the anterior crossbite. If there is any developing crossbites, you have to go with that. You can use the Z spring appliance. Then buccal segment crossbite can be treated using quad helix, that is expansion appliances. Then stage four, it consists of treatment during the permanent dentition. Treatment from 12 to 18 years of age. That is presence of permanent dentition, usually signs for the definitive orthodontic treatment. If the child requires fixed orthodontic treatment, then you should definitely go for it. And all local irregularities like crowding, spacing, crossbite, and overjet, overbite problems are also corrected during this period. Patients with hypoplastic maxilla may be given face masks to advance maxilla. So a regular oral hygiene monitor. Preventive measures are definitely, it should be part of the child from the period, like deciduous dentition period itself. Dietary counseling should be done along with that. Patients are to be made aware of the excessive sugar intake. Then following orthodontic treatment procedures, the patient should be on retentive phase. That is, retention appliances has to be given and it should be made compulsory for them. So that is all. So in case if you're like if either you learn the stages of the treatment or you have to read the complete the age group, like as the management has been explained by specific age what are the things you should be doing. Otherwise you have to go along with the stages of treatment, 1, 2, 3, 4, what are the things done in each stages. That is how you are supposed to write the management of cleft lip and palate. So here I conclude that in case if you have any doubts, please approach. You can approach me. Thank you so much.